Well, I was asleep and I woke up and I realised I was dead. And first of all, I literally then started moving around the room and trying to get back into my body. So the first thing that I did was I thought, oh, well, I'll just get back in. I don't want to be dead. So I lay down in my body and found myself standing upright again. Like I was literally shoved out of my body. I didn't see any figure doing it. It was just energy that just went slam, get out. You're out of there. And I thought, okay, try it again, same result. Maybe I should try and wake my husband up to, get him to revive me if he can. So I started calling out to him, wake up, Bernie, I'm dead. I'm dead, wake up, can't you see I'm dead? And he just kept on sleeping. And I would try to shake him. Of course, that wouldn't work. It'd be like shake, 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 nothing, no movement. And it was actually really frustrating. And I had just given up. And I went to sit down on the bed when he actually did wake up. Nothing to do with me, coincidentally. He woke up and he told me later, he thought, oh, why am I awake? I must need to go to the toilet. So he got up and he went to the toilet and I'm sitting there waiting, going, oh, come on. Because I don't know if anybody knows a middle-aged man going to the toilet, they just take forever. Like, it's the longest time. And trust me, even when you're dead, you're still aware of time. You're sort of going, brain damage. Come on, guy, come on. Eventually he came back and he just walked around the bed and he hopped into bed and I thought, oh, great, Then he rolled over and he gave me a kiss on the cheek and he realised that I was ice cold. And I remember him saying, oh my God, Carmel, what have you done? Turned on the light, found me lying on my back and I'm blue and my eyes just sort of actually partially open. So he started doing CPR on me, which he can do very efficiently because he was an ambulance officer. He might have even still been at that stage, I can't remember. And then after a few minutes, he got up and he ran out of the room to one of our son's rooms and said, please call an ambulance, your mother's dead. So James, that was, I think, did in fact call the ambulance whilst Bernie kept giving me CPR. But he wasn't confident enough to move me off the floor. So you can imagine on a mattress, CPR was only partially effective because you would push and the mattress would give. It wasn't a solid surface. Anyway, the ambulance, I think, by the time the ambulance got there, he'd already been working on me around 10 or so minutes. And the ambulance then had to get, there was actually the firemen because they were the first responders. They had to come down the hallway and they had to move my bed. They had to get me onto the floor. And from when they started CPR, it was 47 minutes. So they recorded a time of 47 minutes of their intervention before they managed to revive me. So when people say, how long were you dead for? Nobody knows how long I was dead before Bernie found me, how long I was dead for after he found me and the paramedics arrived. We only know that it was 47 minutes from when they arrived and began resuscitation to when I was revived. And they actually said it's time to give up before I started to breathe again. They didn't actually think that I would, they thought that that was it, I was dead. And they'd gone on for that long because they actually knew Bernie, because he was also a paramedic. So they continued trying. But in the meantime, I'm up in what you call heaven. I'm happy to call it heaven, so we'll agree on that. And I'm talking to Metatron and to Jesus and to my guides again. And I wouldn't say I was having a good time, I was actually having a very deeply emotional time. Questioning why my life had gone pear-shaped so many times, and basically to keep me on track, keep me doing what I do.
When did you finally go into that heaven dimension? Because initially you were just stuck in the room.
I was. I think it was after Bernie came back to bed, and as soon as he said, "Oh, Carmel, what have you done?" then poof, it was like taken away. Once I knew I was safe, and when I thought about that later on, I thought to myself, well, I think that's the key. I actually had to feel safe, and it's made me change a few thoughts about different things that have been in my life. I think that for a lot of people, before you release your body entirely in this earthly existence, you've got to feel safe, which I think is the secret behind a lot of ghosts, is that they don't actually feel safe. There's still something that they feel they've missed out on, or they need to do, or they're afraid to let go of, or whatever, and they don't feel safe. But the second that I knew Bernie had found me, I knew that I was safe. For instance, when I went there, it was dark, it was nighttime, but it was nighttime where I was. And I've not had a similar experience in daytime to say when I got to heaven it was daylight. So, I don't know if it was like dark there because it was night where I was, or it was dark there because like heaven is in that heavenly space and there's no like sunlight, which both could be true. And heaven is not really a separate space. Heaven is all around us, like it's a different dimension, not a different space. Anyway, so I found myself in heaven, and like the sky was overwhelmingly filled with stars, and I could see Metatron and Jesus waiting for me again. So I knew that I was definitely in heaven, that it was safe. But so were some of my guides also standing there. And I remember off in the distance I could see this like pyramid, and which was interesting because when I have used self-hypnosis a lot in the past, particularly when having babies, instead of drugs, I put myself under hypnosis to manage it. And one of the things that I do when I'm under hypnosis is I ride a horse through the desert, and the pain is the horse. So I control the pain by controlling the horse. I ride a horse through the desert and I can see a pyramid off in the distance and also an oasis. And I know when I reach that oasis, I will have the pain under control. And so I was quite comfortable being in this scenario. It was like a familiar thing. And I could see an oasis off in the distance. But I also remember feeling very distressed, more distressed than I remember having felt before. And I was pretty certain that this was it, that I was not going to be allowed to come back, that I was dead. And I'd made preparations for that. I had become aware many years ago that I would die at 47, and I was hoping that it wasn't true, but a few months before I actually died, I had become very strongly aware that I was about to die. So I'd actually remade my will, and I'd written letters to people I either loved or had felt I'd hurt and wanted to apologise to, and I'd written notes about who of my children I wanted to have what, and I'd put in powers of attorney. So everything was set up for me to die, and thank the universe I did that, because that actually saved Bernie and my home when I died, having done all that, and my own health decisions. Because if you don't have all those legalities in place, the hospital is actually in charge of you, not your family. So while I was in heaven, I spoke to them, and I literally said to Metatron and Jesus that I was tired. I was exhausted, that my life had been too much for me, that every time I had tried to do something other than this, it had been taken away from me. Literally everything had been taken away from me, like a marriage and relationships and friendships, and my children had suffered for it too, and my health had, suffered, not as bad as it could have, because I would have accidents or get ill, but I found that I had the ability to actually heal myself, and but it had never been fun, really. It had never been fun, so I was really ready to die. And then they reminded me that I had children, and that if I wasn't there, Bernie would have to manage the children all on his own. And they were difficult children, like 4 difficult children, very difficult children. And I couldn't do that to him. So I said, all right, I'll go back, I'll help with the children. And they said, oh, seeing as you're going back, there is one last thing we would like you to do for us. And I remember saying, yep, okay, you do that. Tell me what it is. And they did, but I can't remember it.